This is FinTech Insider News. This week, Griffin has announced the launch of its MCP server, Openpayd launches stablecoin infrastructure to move and manage money globally, and we have lots of exciting updates right here from the Money20 European Conference in Amsterdam. We'll be discussing all of this and more exciting updates live right here from Money20 Europe Conference in Amsterdam, so don't go anywhere.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
Hello and welcome to episode 971 of FinTech Insider. My name is David Barton-Grimley, Director of Strategy at 11FS. And this isn't any old FinTech Insider podcast. This is a Money20 special, which means that we are tuning into your ears live from the Money20 Europe Conference here in Amsterdam. Currently, we are all sat in what looks kind of like a fishbowl or an aquarium or something that's like covered in dripping honey, which is sort of an interesting kind of thing. And as the movers and shakers of the FinTech world gather in this Dutch conference center to nerd out on all the latest FinTech news, we're bringing you some of the top news stories from the conference and indeed from the world of FinTech as a whole. So now let's introduce our guests. Helping to elevate us to podcast royalty are this week's guests, the real winners of FinTech and banking world, who are on hand to dive into the top news stories from the week. So first up, we have David Jarvis, CEO at Griffin. Welcome back to the show, David. How is Money20 going for you?
It's been a blast. As usual, I am absolutely shattered as a human being. It has been sort of 36 hours of absolutely nonstop, morning till night, meetings, learnings. It's wild. This feels like one of the most electric years that I've been here.
Yeah, I would echo that. It's been really good. Well, welcome on board. And next up, we have Laura Barbuto, Director of Compliance and MLRO at Openpayd. Great to have you on the show, Lara. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role at Openpayd?
Sure. Thank you for having me, David. I'm the Director of Compliance at Openpayd. Openpayd is a financial service infrastructure that basically helps businesses move their money globally. My main focus is compliance and risk.
Amazing.
And obviously ensuring that the business is adhering to all its regulatory obligations.
Good stuff. It's good to have you on board. I mean, we're going to be talking about lots of risky things.
Definitely.
So it's great to have you here. And last but not least, we have Brice van der Walle, EVP Core Product for Europe at Mastercard. Thanks so much for joining us, Brice. What have you been up to in the conference so far?
Hi, thanks again for having me as well here. Like David, this has been a tremendous event for now. It's actually my first time that I attend Money20, so very excited about it. And like you, David, it has been from very early in the morning until very late last night, customer meetings and very, very exciting discussions about a lot of innovation. So, pretty cool. I'm definitely going to be here next year as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to have you all here. And yeah, I was also quite late last night, so if my voice sounds a little bit croaky, well, there's a reason behind that. Right, so now we have our panel. Now on to the news. And our first story this week is from Griffin. Griffin has announced the launch of its MCP server, AI Griffin. The Griffin MCP server supports AI agents in opening accounts, making payments, and analyzing financial data. Developers can prototype fintech apps using Griffin's API in a sandbox environment. Griffin is promoting a future where users can create personalized AI agents for financial management. Production access is available upon request, and so just to be clear, Griffin is a regulated full-stack banking-as-a-service or BaaS platform, combining modern software capabilities with traditional banking compliance. So, David, this is so interesting. I mean, MCPs are so topical. I'd love you just to take us through like the background behind this, like where this come from, and maybe just like for our audience, like what is model context protocol?
Yeah. So it maybe is helpful to start with the fact that I'm like a latecomer to the AI hype train. This frustrates my wife a lot because she's the CEO and founder of an AI native business, and so my ignorance about what she does has been very trying for her. But I remember messaging her at some point several months ago, and I was like, "Is this MCP thing like? Is that a goer? Like, do you think that that's like that seems kind of interesting to me? Is that like a real thing?" And so, for those who are unfamiliar, what Model Context Protocol or MCP allows you to do is essentially to define a configuration context window for a AI model that allows it to plug into an external interface. And generally, you're looking at like an API interface. And so, in the same way that like if you ask an AI, "Hey, analyze this PDF document for me," you can now say you don't even need to like really provide it with any further context. You load in this config file and you just say, "Hey, how much money is in my bank account?" Right? Or like, "I want you to pay these invoices." And it just knows to do that because of the context that's been provided to it. And the background for this is really interesting in that it kind of started in two ways concurrently. So there was a little bit of inside out and a little bit of outside in. The outside in stuff was fascinating. So what we found was we were starting to have sales calls in which customers would load up Claude, or prospects would load up Claude in the sales call. This and unprompted, right? We didn't tell them to do this. They would load up Claude, they would point it at our API documentation, and then they would start to build fintech application prototypes in the sales call. And we were like, this is really interesting, right? That you can essentially build like a fully functioning prototype in 15 minutes on the sales call of what you want to build. And then at the same time, our engineers, who obviously were some of the earliest adopters of AI at the business, were hearing about what the customers were doing, and we're like, oh, we should really be giving them like an MCP server that would accelerate this. And then thinking about, and so they did that, like unprompted, like I didn't do anything. And then once they had built it, we were like, oh, okay, cool. Like the natural future extension of this is not just letting people build the applications. It's actually helping individual agents to understand the tasks that they can take within the context that is provided to them. And so, we really do see this potential world. I mean, like the technology is moving so fast that we could be getting this wrong, but like a potential world in which at a app level, right, you provide essentially like a dedicated API key to an agent. It has some accounts, maybe it could be one, could be many, those are funded, and it has the sort of full authority to make money and receive payments and do everything that a human user could do. And so essentially what we have done has been to enable agents to like interact directly with the banking system at like an application API interface level. So we're really excited about this.
God, that's incredible. I mean, you're starting with helping engineers get access to your product a hell of a lot easier, which then allows you to scale into potentially full agentic in the future. Brice, I'd love to come to you because I know like Mastercard is doing a lot of thinking about agentic payments and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, how do you see like MCPs in this whole area?
So yes, indeed, we are indeed seeing a true revolution. I mean, AI is just transforming the way we are doing things, right? I think for the last 20 years, we've been very much used to go online, use Google and all these websites that everybody knows very well to find information and buy the stuff that we need to run our life. But now, since AI agents have become the most popular way for you to get access to that information, the only missing bit really was the payment, right? Because I want to give you the example. I'm trying to find out a fishing trip for my 11-year-old son this summer, just the two of us. And I spend my time going on so many websites, finding information, location, price, etc., where to spend my week, where to sleep, etc. It's taking me so much time. And now I can just go to, let's say, ChatGPT is going to find all the information I need, right? It's going to tell me what is the time of the plane that I need to take, where will I stay, what car to rent, what would be the best fishing spots, etc., etc. So it's going to plan all of that for me. Problem is, and I say, oh, that's great, thank you. Can you please book it for me. Okay? And that's where it stops, right? So that's creating a big gap. But what we're doing now is we're actually completing that last mile component, thanks to the AI, thanks to the partnership that we have with those big guys. We're going to enable everyone to complete that last mile and actually paying for that wonderful trip to Ireland, where my son and I will be able to fish. So this is transforming the way the e-commerce is working, right? And what you're saying, David, about what you're doing is exactly that. I think people behaviors will change fundamentally. We will no longer be using website like we've been using them for the last 20 years. It's just going to change dramatically. So it's very exciting. And what you're doing as well, I think, is going to change. No, it's for free. I don't need. I think really, probably we'll see so many change that we'll probably not recognize the world as we've known it today in a couple of years from now.
It's so much easier to build new businesses. I mean, the stuff that you're doing, David, like you're just taking the friction out so massively that these new business models can emerge, and then using some of the tech that Mastercard is using, for example, and others to then just develop entirely new things that we haven't seen before.
But what I think is really important is that when we do these things, what we stand for is really about the trust, the security, and the user experience. Obviously, the AI is bringing a lot of improvement when it comes to the user experience. But the last thing we want is that people start freaking out or lose trust into what we're doing, right? I mean, you're touching them.
You don't want that?
No, we don't want.
It's so interesting.
No, surprising, right? So we're trying to make sure that all the things that we've been building for the last 60 years in terms of building a trust and awareness about the brand and making sure people feel comfortable to pay the merchant or now pay through the AI agent, the merchant that is behind. We are putting a framework around that, and we're using our technology so that we can basically ensure that there is traceability on what is happening, right? Because we don't want any AI agent to get access to your financial credential. We don't want anyone to be able to do that. We want to make sure that we know who is doing it, and that if there is any sort of issue post-transaction, we can also track that back and make sure that everything is fine, right? Because we want to keep that trust and from the consumers in the end.
That's a really good cue to bring Lara into the discussion, because we talk about trust and risk. I mean, I imagine Openpayd is also thinking about this kind of stuff, but how do you see the risk of these agents like executing payments?
Yeah, look, I would agree. I think it's a very exciting time, and I think actually adding intelligence to banking is the way forward, right? It's actually good to start seeing. We'll be talking stablecoins as well. This is all something new for the traditional regulated sector, and ultimately I think yes, there's always risk, but risk can always be controlled. That has always been my opinion. As long as you can control the risk, you should be taking the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer, by the way. That's a really good way of thinking about it. So I just want to sort of open it up. Like, what do we see the next immediate kind of use cases? We talked about, executing a payment. We talked about building, a new business. Is there anything kind of in the operational side of agentic? I mean, one of the counterfactuals that I hear quite a lot from banks is that there is a hell of a lot of liability issues in just deploying an agent into the wild. And I have actually been a little bit surprised to a certain extent with the lack of discussion about agentic AI at this conference, which is kind of interesting. That there's still a lot of kind of hesitance to get there from banks. Is that something that you're all picking up on, Lara?
I think the mistake is just assuming that you have an AI tool that's giving you all the answers, right? Mm-hmm. I think you really need to understand how that AI tool is working, what's the logic behind it, what's the rules, how the decisions are being taken. Yeah. If you can't explain that, then that's the problem. Yeah. But if you can, and you're actually feeding it with the intelligence you want to feed it and with the rules that you want it to work on, I think you'll be in a good position.
Like anything, right? Like anything we do in tech. Okay, great. And now we're going to move on to the other kind of new thing that you alluded to there, Lara, which is stablecoin. And this one is from Openpayd. So Openpayd launches stablecoin infrastructure to move and manage money globally. The stablecoin infrastructure will enable businesses to move and manage digital assets and fiat through one platform. Businesses will be able to on-ramp and off-ramp between fiat and digital assets and make instant cross-border payments using all major stablecoins and widely adopted digital assets, enabling greater efficiency and transparency at a lower cost. The new capabilities of Openpayd will enable its clients to manage treasury flows more efficiently, radically improving on the speed and cost of currency exchanges when moving money cross-border. Businesses can go live with stablecoin capabilities in weeks, not months, with a straightforward integration to Openpayd's proprietary platform. Today, Openpayd processes 130 billion euros in analyzed volume for 750 plus clients across a diverse range of industries. So, Lara, this is super exciting development, and stablecoin is another thing, another topic at this conference that there's quite a lot about, but also not so much about, which is fascinating because we know how big it's growing. So I'd love to hear you talk. Tell us a little bit about how this decision came about.
Yeah, it's something we've been working on for quite a while, actually. I mean, Openpayd's mission has always been to, make money movements faster, quicker, borderless. Stable coins are rapidly becoming a core part of the financial system. Eventually, it's going to be another payment method, same way as we use fiat currency. So we actually found a bit of a gap. Their potential was not, we weren't exploiting their potential properly because there was a lack of connectivity with fiat payment rails. And that's the gap we actually tried to solve. So through one platform, we're actually allowing customers to on-ramp and off-ramp between stable coins, between digital assets and fiat, right? So a customer can deposit in stable coins, withdraw in fiat, or the other way around. And that's all done through one platform, regulated platform that we've created internally.
Amazing. And what are you seeing the kind of use case for stable coins? I mean, is it, one of the things that I hear is that it's amazing at taking out the friction and the time of settlement. I think the news article talked a lot about treasury, which is like a super interesting use case. What are you seeing people use stable coins for?
Yes, a lot of this, definitely treasury, supplier payments, right?
Yeah.
Quick access, actually. So there's quite a lot of use cases. I think we're not exploiting it enough. I think there's still, again, a trust issue here as well. But eventually, when, especially some like a regulation like MiCA's coming in, right? Obviously, it's there now. That's going to build up the confidence in the markets for sure, and that is when we're going to really start seeing more institutional flows for stablecoins.
Yeah, so now is the time. Someone was telling me earlier that it's like maybe early next year or September or whatever. everything is going to be stablecoin. It's something that's
in a year. It's going to be very different.
Yeah, Bruce, I'd love to bring you into the conversation. I mean, how are you seeing stablecoins, and what's Mastercard's kind of view on that?
Oh, look, I mean, we're obviously very much involved into that. We see the use case like the one you were describing, right? I mean, there's a lot of potential to improve money flows, B2B. I mean, we see a lot of actually partner of ours that are already enabling those use cases to pay their merchants, for example, with stable coins. That's something that is already there. And so that's clearly filling in a gap. And there are loads of things that could have been improved, right? Most of the money movement have been relying on legacy systems for quite some time, traditional systems, and we can certainly do better. Now, what I would say, and that's consistent in whatever we do, is, as you said, we need trust, we need schemes, we need rules. And we need to make sure that there's security. These are the things that we are working on. And then I would say to conclude is also about how do you make sure that we have some interoperability, because you have a lot of things that are popping up here and there. At the end of the day, people need to be able to use the ones that makes more sense for them, and how do they make sure that they choose the right stablecoin for them? That's going to be probably also defined in the coming months or years. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's security, rules, and user experience that will define who's the winning party, right? But we're definitely involved. It's a very exciting time. I think it's going to change a lot again, like the AI, right? It's a little bit the other topic that is, I think, going to have a lot of impact.
I think obviously regulation, sometimes people view that as a burden, but ultimately that's what's bringing the confidence in the market.
Very much true.
So we need the regulation. I'm a compliance person. I'm obviously talking that way, but I do think it's very much needed.
Yeah. And David, how are you thinking about stablecoin?
Yeah, so we already bank firms that are leveraging this, particularly for cross-border use cases. Right now, we recently onboarded a business that's doing sort of trade finance on the UK-Ghana corridor, and stablecoins are immensely helpful for them in just managing the cross-border element of that, because it's just not a well-traded currency pair, right? And so the liquidity is very, very poor. I think of stablecoins as sort of universal adapter for FX. I mean, you essentially move from a universe of having kind of peer-to-peer trading pairs to like this universal adapter, and the liquidity that will emerge from that realignment of network is immense. And so you should see incredible reduction in the cost of moving currencies and also moving money across borders. I think it is essentially like an inevitable killer technology for how all of FX and global payments work. And to me, the big thing that I spend a lot of time having sort of sleepless nights over is bizarrely not the financial crime risk, but it is perhaps because I'm a banker. It's the issuer credit counterparty risk, where I'm like, okay, cool. If USDC or USDT or any of these become the sort of de facto reserve currency of the world, these are fucking private corporations, right? Like, often they're not all regulated, right? And so that makes me very, very twitchy. And so, like, personally, I think it is, and we'll see how this all plays out, but I think it is somewhat inevitable that, I mean, we know China's working on a central bank digital currency. And I think as soon as China gets there, the other Western central banks will have to act. And I think as soon as you have a central bank digital currency, that has far more trust than any private issuer. And I think the risk of having it be private issuers is that it just takes monetary policy out of the hands of the central banks, which they also won't want. And so I think there'll be really interesting trade-offs on the like financial crime monetary policy side. But I think the somewhat inevitable consequences will end up seeing some degree of rollback of financial crime legislation because the imperative to control the currency is so high on a monetary policy level.
That's so interesting. I suppose what you're saying is that the technology is so clearly here to stay, but like the business models and how we do it. I mean, you're right. I mean, some of these companies are making record profits, because they're just taking all the yield from some of the underlying assets.
Put it slightly differently, right? Like, it only takes one hack to essentially destroy all trust in a corporate, in all private corporate stablecoin issuers, right? In the same way that, like, when one bank fails, the risk of bank runs to all banks like shoots up very, very significantly. And the only way you get around that is if you have the entity that is the currency issuer, like also the ultimate entity that is the monetary policy issuer, because they can actually just print dollars, right?
Yeah. That's terrifying. Lara, are you terrified about that?
Sorry.
I love it though.
Of course, we're terrified. We're all terrified about that. I mean, the counterparty risk is very high here.
Yeah. We just need to see how things play out.
Exactly. Like everything else, I guess.
Yeah, it's all happening right now. Okay, great. I mean, this is such a fascinating discussion. And on that note, we're just going to take a quick pause here. Back shortly.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Cybersecurity is the top concern for UK businesses, according to Vanta's recent State of Trust report. But whether you're a startup founder or an experienced security professional, Vanta is here to help. businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs across over 35 frameworks like ISO 27001 and SOC 2, centralize security workflows, complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Join over 9,000 global companies like Flow Health, Synthesia, and Alica Bank who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/insider. That's VANTA.com/insider for $1,000 off.
Welcome back. And our next story is Mastercard has partnered with major players like Santander, Delivery Hero, N26, and Worldline to drive adoption of tokenization, click-to-pay, and passkeys. 1 year after launching its initiative to eliminate manual card entry and fully tokenize digital transactions by 2030, Mastercard reports strong progress in Europe. So 49% of e-commerce transactions in Europe are now tokenized, with usage growing by over a third in the past year. Secure Card on File, or SCOF, which replaces card numbers with secure tokens, is active in 45 European countries. Click to Pay, simplifying repeat checkouts, is now available in 26 European markets, with enrollments more than doubling. Payment passkeys, which use biometric authentication, are gaining traction as a password-free alternative. I certainly know I'm using that. Consumer friction with checkout friction, as shown in Mastercard research, is a key motivator behind the push. So Mastercard is targeting 100% tokenization and authentication across Europe by 2030. So, Brice, I just want to come to you for like a level setter for our listeners. Like, why is tokenization so important to the user experience and to the industry as a whole?
There are two reasons. I mean, and first, to make it very clear, tokenization means that you actually get rid of the card number. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You just not have to introduce manually the 16-digit of your card, the expiry date, and the CVC code, right? So that is what we're trying to do by 2030. You won't have to do that anymore when you go online. Why is it so important? For the reason we're trying to, in our business, there's two things that are critical. It's what we call the approval rate, meaning making sure that when you're trying to purchase something, the transactions get approved, as simple as that. And we know that when we use tokens, so removing the actual PAN number, the card number by a token, you get a higher approval rate because the issuer, the bank that is issuing those tokens, feel a lot more comfortable because those tokens are unique and attached to a specific merchant or specific use case. And that makes the banks much more comfortable to actually approve the transaction for their customers. So that's number one. Number two, we know that, and that's the other issue that we're trying to address constantly in our business, is the fraud. And tokens are really, really hard, if not impossible, to hack. And because of that, we see tremendous improvement on any of the fraud use case, basically. So these are the two fundamental reasons why we want to do this. But because it's just also going to allow us to make many more use cases possible, including paying with AI agent, for example.
That's fascinating. And you've got like big rollout, there's some pretty big statistics in there. It sounds pretty straightforward. What are the barriers to roll? Is it just a question of just infrastructure and engineering, or is there anything else that's blocking
it's
it?
like in any of the payment solution that we roll out, like you can think about contactless, you can think about mobile payment, you can think about any of these. The challenge we always have, and this is why I love my job so much, is because we have to work with an entire ecosystem. You mentioned a couple of the partners that we have. We need issuers, we need merchants, we need acquiring bank, we need processors, we need everybody that is somewhat involved into the process of payment to be involved, to be on board and have the same vision that we have, right? So the challenge is always, how do you make sure that everyone has the same vision of where we want to go? Is everybody convinced that we want to do tokenization because it brings better approval rates, because it's reducing friction? And if everybody is on board, then it becomes a little bit easier, of course. So what we're going to have to do next now is work with the merchants, the PSPs, the gateways, the PayFacs, you name it, that are not yet enabled for it. But that's going to be relatively easy. We're pretty confident that we'll get to the 100% by the end of 2030, because with almost half of the transaction already tokenized, it's pretty reassuring.
Yeah. And Lara, Brice mentioned fraud there. I mean, how are you thinking about tokenization at Openpayd? I imagine.
No, I actually think this is a really good thing, to be honest. It's not only, like, obviously fewer failed payments, less fraud, not only good from a regulated entity, from a merchant perspective, it's also a very good user experience, right? So I think it's good both ways, and I think it's a very exciting future.
Yeah, we got to do it. David, there's all sorts of different payment methods, right? There's all sorts of different ways to pay. I mean, I feel in some ways that the checkout experience has gotten so much better with things like Apple Wallet and Google Pay and all of this. But at the same time, everybody's trying to launch a checkout solution. How do you see all this kind of optionality?
I mean, the truth is that today we ourselves are essentially just a settlement layer, really. Yeah. And so we are sort of starting to move into the card space ourselves. We're starting to look at other payment rails. But right now, the way that we sort of think about cards is like, it's not a payment method. It's an authorization method. The payment method in the UK is still faster payments, right? And like that's just the place that we happen to play. But I think, yeah, I mean, tokenization is unquestionably like the future. It's incredibly encouraging, the progress that you've made in a fairly short amount of time. I mean, it just feels like a total no-brainer, right? It's an obvious win for everybody.
Yeah, it's got to happen. Brice, and why? You know, we're here at Money20 Europe, so obviously, you know, this is Europe and this is your market. But like, is Europe a particular hub for you know, innovation in the payment space? I mean, like, why is Europe the kind of test bed almost for this?
I mean, historically in the payment business, in the card business, Europe has always been at the forefront. This is where the chip has been invented, where, you know, the chip on the card, that's where it started. Then we've been also innovating with contactless. So the NFC, near-field communication standards have been developed and pushed here. This is, I mean, the 3DS, so the secure code. So the way to authenticate yourself when you do an online purchase was also introduced in Europe first. So there's this tradition in Europe that is there in terms of innovation. And this is why we're also seeing now click-to-pay and tokenization and passkeys sort of coming very, very strongly in Europe.
Yeah. And where lags, would you say? Like, where is the biggest kind of area? Like in
America,
the US? Yeah, I was going to say.
America.
You know, print out a receipt and sign it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I always actually, I lived in Miami, so I could have chosen a worse place in the US, right? I mean, for 4 years in 2017. And when I arrived there, it was all about, indeed, max stripes or swiping the card and signing, right? You could have signed Mickey Mouse; it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, I mean, well, at least if you did sign Mickey Mouse, you could then contest it with your bank later.
Exactly, right? Get a charge back, right? But funnily enough, in the meantime, they've all migrated to chip and to contactless. So they kind of follow Europe in a way.
They do. I mean, the narrative that I always heard, and I don't know to what extent this is true, is that the thing that held up the U.S. was gas stations, because the card reader was embedded in the pump physically. And so to actually like rip out that infrastructure, and again, I mean, every American drives basically, right? So to actually rip out that infrastructure meant like delivering the point of sale infrastructure to enable chip and pin, and then getting to like a critical mass of gas stations, and then being able to start issuing the cards.
That's an interesting one. There are always very nice stories in the payment business. I think there are other components. I mean, obviously the fraud factor came in, because chip and pin is obviously a fantastic way to get rid of fraud, right? Literally, you have no fraud in the card present world thanks to that, right? So that is, I guess, at some point the business case for the banks was, you know, sufficiently compelling to say, okay, because if you have a max stripe and you're signing Mickey Mouse, basically fraud levels can go through the roof, right?
Yeah.
So that's why chip and pin made a big impact. So I think that's
so it's so fascinating.
But I like your story.
Yeah, but there's also cultural, you know, differences, which I guess do come from the way that people are just used to paying. I mean, you know, you've got open banking like in India, for example, like UPI is like That's how people.
That's what's fascinating with payment. You need to teach or explain to people for quite some time. I mean, in the UK, you had, for example, when we introduced contactless, it took a while for people to understand why they should tap their card on the terminal, and suddenly the Transport for London, so the tube, enabled it, and suddenly overnight everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is fantastic!" I had been working on contactless for 10 years before they made that. Right, so it was, and suddenly overnight it was there. And then they use it everywhere, right?
Yeah, you're right. It really was the tube. It really was all of a sudden. I mean, it is just the friction that it took out.
I think it's not just the friction that it takes out. It's the fact that it's so visible, right? Like you're watching the person in front of you just like do it. And you're like, wait, that's an option, right? And like immediately, right? Like, whereas, if you're, e-commerce, right? Like you're not watching other people as they put their card information into the computer, right? You're not like necessarily even paying that close attention while they're buying stuff at the shopping thing. But like when you're trying to get into and out of the tube, you're like, hurry the fuck up, man! Like get through these fucking turnstiles. Like I gotta get to the office, right?
Yeah. I always enjoy explaining to my parents every time they visit London and they can just use their cards. And like my dad just stops there and he's like, but this is my card. This is my bank card. Are you sure? Take it out your pocket. Go and tap it. There you go.
My dad still insists on topping up his Oyster card. So
They're discontinuing Oyster, aren't they?
Yes.
Like in the next a year, basically.
Yeah.
Finally, you have to get used to it.
All right. Thanks, guys. It's super interesting. And now it's time for a quick look at some Money 2020 announcements we don't have time to cover in full. And the first one is from GoCardless. GoCardless expands payment platform with outbound payments. Outbound payments will enable merchants to send money directly to customers, suppliers, and third parties via GoCardless. The aim is to streamline operations, simplify reconciliation, and enhance the payment visibility. This will also help merchants save time and money, eliminating costly setup, maintenance, and contractual processes by managing both collections and payouts in the same place. Outbound payments is a direct result of strategic acquisition and rapid integration of Nuapay, which was completed by GoCardless in 2024. So we spoke to Rawani Hewa, Executive VP of Core Payments Europe from Nuapay.
Hi, I'm Rawani Hewa. I'm Product and Propositions Director at Nuapay, now a GoCardless company. Nuapay was acquired by GoCardless last September, and I've been integrating the Nuapay platform and products into GoCardless to be launching outbound payments this week. As you know, GoCardless has been traditionally a collecting platform for direct debits and open banking. So it provides APIs for direct debits and open banking. And now with that same platform and that same contract, we can now send payments. And that's actually been powered by Nuapay and the acquisition that they had done back in September. So I'm super excited to announce in the UK, a merchant can now send payments as well as collect payments via the same platform. This is particularly really interesting for segments such as savings and investments, lending and insurance, which are core verticals who actually do collect payments quite a lot, but they do also have use cases for outbound payments. One particularly being if you're a consumer having collections through direct debits for an insurance company, you want to be paid out when you make an insurance claim. And for an insurance company, we can actually do that payout instantly. So we can facilitate that payout instantly using faster payments rails in the UK.
Awesome. And next up, we have payabl launches virtual business cards to empower smarter business spending. The service allows real-time card issuance, customizable limits, and easy management through features like assigning to team members and freezing or unfreezing access. This launch targets e-commerce, startups, and global teams needing to secure flexible payment solutions. With virtual card transactions projected to grow from 36 billion in 2023 to 175 billion by 2028, payabl is positioning itself to meet rising demand. So we spoke to Agne Buratsieni, I hope I'm getting that pronunciation right, Group CEO of payabl, who told us more about the launch.
My name is Agne Buratsieni. I'm the Group CEO of payabl. So that means that I run all of our group of companies and responsible for everything related to payabl. So we've released our virtual cards product, which complements our banking, and it's part of our payabl One platform, which is a modular platform which encompasses all of our solutions in one platform that the clients can service themselves and utilize. I think for us what is exciting that is kind of the last piece from the banking product in a way, because it enables instant access to funds, and it's also a modern, cool tech which you can enable really instantly, and our clients can issue cards almost with the push of a button within a couple of seconds.
Awesome. And next up, we have Zilch partners with Visa to accelerate growth and launch a physical card. So Zilch has formed a multi-year global partnership with Visa, giving it access to Visa's infrastructure with 150 million plus merchant locations across 200 countries, enabling it to scale its services and introduce its first physical payment card. The physical card launch addresses the 80% of UK adults who don't regularly use mobile wallets and enables spending in previously inaccessible categories such as hotel check-ins or car rentals, for example. The card launch is expected in September 2025, available to existing customers. So we spoke to Philip Bellamant, Zilch CEO and co-founder, who told us more about the partnership.
So my name is Philip Bellamant. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Zilch. So we're a consumer payments platform. And the unique thing about Zilch is that every time a customer shops with one of our stores, we generate ad commissions from the store. And we don't hang on to that. We pass it back through to the customer in the form of cashback, deals, discounts, and subsidized credit. We're really excited about this new tie-up. So we're moving all of our volume over to Visa. We've been working on this deal for more than a year and really getting the technology right. And so we're proud to be launching our first physical card with Visa, which we announced today. And really what we're trying to do with that is turn something quite ordinary, so we're all used to seeing cards, into something extraordinary. And the whole concept is, how do we bring this technology that we've created and pack it all into this form factor we all know, right? And so the real value of this product is that it will identify who you are when you use the product, but you'll choose how it behaves in the app. So you can choose to pay now, pay later, pay even later. You can change your mind. You could do this before or after the transaction. And we will still be able to generate ad revenue when you use that product, so that you can get all of the deals, discounts, cashbacks, and subsidized credit that people have come to know and love of our product in your phone.
Awesome. And finally, one more update we were able to find out more about here in Amsterdam. And this one is Banking Circle partners with Visa Direct to boost global payments. Banking Circle has teamed up with Visa Direct to enhance global payments by giving Visa access to its local clearing rails via a single API. This partnership enables faster, more efficient cross-border payments, leveraging Banking Circle's direct access to local payment systems worldwide. The collaboration is set to improve speed, transparency, and cost efficiency for businesses and financial institutions handling international transactions. So we spoke to Laus de Bertelsen, the founder of Banking Circle, from here at the conference, who explained more about the partnership.
My name is Laus Bertelsen, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Banking Circle. And Banking Circle is all about payments. So we are actually the infrastructure in payments, servicing other financial regulated institutions. We just connected to the Swiss clearing, where we are now direct, and you can see what in reality we are trying to build is operability between the instant clearings around the world. So at the end of the day, when we have them all, then you actually have, with a new technology, that we are providing instant payments around the world. So we are actually trying to do a revolution in the payment space. It has been the same setup the last 40 years, and now we're actually trying to build a new structure here where things are becoming instant, like all other technologies in the world. I think it's a great news. You can see every time we add a new country, it's a big achievement, because it actually requires, you can see, local regulation, connectivity on technology to the central banks. So we are quite happy.
Awesome. All right. And that's it for the news. So to wrap us up, I'd love to get all of your thoughts about, like, what's been great in Money 2020? What have you seen? What's cool? It could be swag. It could be this room. Although this room is hot.
I'm going to advertise. We brought fidget spinners, and they have been flying off the shelves. I know. We're bringing 2015 back. If you need a fidget spinner, you can come to our booth and get fidget spinners.
That is good swag.
Otherwise, I would say, I mean, like, the stablecoin stuff is just blowing my mind. I mean, like, I was at a North Zone and Stripe event on Tuesday, and it is very, very clear that is the future. So I'm in, like, just a rapid strategy realignment mode on that.
Yeah, so cool. Stripe are amazing at stablecoin. What do you guys think, Laura?
Yeah, well, we have orange juice, right? So
Yay.
I heard that orange juice is really good. No, I agree. I think even Ripple announced their new stablecoin getting approved by the Dubai regulator. I think that's been kind of, that's the way forward. And I think even Dubai will be the jurisdiction. We'll start seeing a lot of fintechs moving onto the next few years.
There are so many use cases for stablecoin in the Middle East. It is incredible. You're right. That is big news. What do you think, Brice?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do some self-promotion. So this morning, I think we were super happy to announce a new partnership with PayPal around the ability to issue what we call one credential, i.e. the possibility for a cardholder, for consumers to have any funding source like debit, prepaid, credit into one unique credential instead of having different credential. And if you think about it, the industry has been having a separate piece of plastic for prepaid and for debit, for credit. That actually doesn't make any sense. It's just the way it is. And now we're bringing all these different funding sources into one credential. And so it's not only good for the planet, right? Less plastic, but it's also allowing more flexibility for consumers and a better experience. So we're super happy about the fact that we're going to work with PayPal on that. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, so a customer can choose which funding source they use.
Convenience.
That just makes perfect sense. And PayPal is a great partner for that, right? Because PayPal is kind of the original one credential kind of solution with email address. That's great. What else is cool here? Anything else? Anything else cool? Good parties? Very good parties.
Nail techs, massages.
Yeah. I'm yet to have a massage.
Where is that? I didn't find it out. Yeah,
I'm gonna go. Yeah, it's gonna be a big queue.
I will say the Lithuania folks are making smoothies, and the smoothies are very good.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, your orange juice has been like a little
de-elevated.
So a few other things, and this is going to be not relevant for anyone listening to this outside of the conference, but Enfuse's cookies, incredible.
Sorry. The Visa Lego cars.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
They've got like a Lego F1 car set, like.
There's a whole queue waiting to get that.
The queue.
Yeah, that's why.
That's why.
Yeah, but that's because we have the McLaren one, and they're actually on track and
We're
winning. So they're actually
competition.
selling the card.
I did think that is, the Visa, that is not the primary Red Bull team. That is the second Red Bull team.
Yeah.
We got to keep things even across all of our.
We like our little competition.
We like the competition. That's great. All right, listen. On that note, that wraps us up. Thanks so much to all of you for joining me here in this very, very sweaty honey aquarium. I don't know how else to describe it. Let's go around the room and say, where can people find out a little bit more about your companies, David?
Yep. So we're at griffin.com. Nice and easy. We are on X, Blue Sky, LinkedIn. We're definitely not on Facebook. Sorry. And happy to talk to basically anybody in the financial services world who touches money.
Amazing, awesome. Yeah, I'm yet to hear anyone say find me on Facebook at this particular thing. I did once say you can find me on Truth Social as a joke, but nobody got that. Nobody got that joke.
You don't have a Truth Social
account?
I don't.
Yeah, what a surprise! You can actually. Lara.
Yeah, same. No Facebook either. Openpayd.com.
Amazing.
LinkedIn, very active there.
Cool. Yeah, and Brice?
I mean, you can find us everywhere, right?
You literally
in your pocket.
Literally in my
right,
pocket.
in your pocket, 200 plus countries, in the pocket of 3.3 billion people around the world. So I think, if you don't find us, then I don't know where you live, but
yeah, you could argue if you haven't heard of Mastercard and where to find you, then maybe you shouldn't be listening to this
But
podcast.
in case, you can always contact me if you don't find what you need.
Well, you can find you on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, I'm
That's
definitely
right.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
yes.
and you can also surprisingly find me on LinkedIn and not Truth Social. Thank you so much for listening to today's FinTech Insider podcast. If you like what you heard, please make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform of choice. And if you really like what you've heard, why not share the podcast with a colleague or friend? Why not do it? As always, if you want to join the conversation, find us on social media. Just search for 11FS or FinTech Insider or email podcasts@11fs.com. Thanks again and goodbye.
David and Goliath is a story we know well at 11FS. As a challenger consultancy, we're often going head-to-head with household names that have far bigger headcounts than us. And once again, that was the case at the 2025 British Bank Awards. And the result? We took home Consultancy of the Year for the 5th time. Another win for David. What makes this victory even more special is that it was voted for by our clients, the people and businesses who see the impact of our work firsthand. Because in our world, scale doesn't equal impact. And that's exactly how we outpace giants like Accenture and Capgemini. So if you're looking to partner with an award-winning team of fintech consultants helping to build the next generation of financial services, get in touch. Visit 11fs.com/ventures to find out more. Cybersecurity is the top concern for UK businesses, according to Vanta's recent State of Trust report. But whether you're a startup founder or an experienced security professional, Vanta is here to help. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs across over 35 frameworks like ISO 27001 and SOC 2, centralize security workflows, complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Join over 9,000 global companies like Flow Health, Synthesia, and Alica Bank who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/insider. That's VANTA.com/insider for $1,000 off.